And we are back. Welcome back to this year's version of Extra Life Game Day. Extra Life Game Day always takes place on the first weekend of November. So we are in hour 9 of our 24-hour stream. We started last night just a little bit after midnight. We didn't start right on the dot. It was like 12:01, 12:02. Got ourselves up and running. So we're 9 hours, 12 minutes in. So yeah, we're 10 minutes behind, 15 minutes behind. But we'll go for a full 24 hours. We're also behind each video. I wanted each video to be about 4 hours, and so far we haven't quite made that, but we'll do our best to make that happen as well. Okay, so we are in the third video here. Going to slide into the Last Starship. You can find 2 playthroughs of the Last Starship in my live streams. The first one we actually built 1 megaship. The second one we built multiple ships on actually this hull that they're showing on the screen right now. So this one right here. And we actually played through everything that Alpha 11 has to offer. So the story, basically to the point where there wasn't anything else to do besides just make money and things like that. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to play today, but we're going to do something a little bit different. So those we were playing through the game in the game mode. Today what I thought we'd do is we're going to go ahead and break down kind of everything you need to know to play the game, how the systems work and things like that. So we're just going to build ourselves a test lab and just try out a lot of the little bits and pieces and things like that. So we're going to go over here into creative mode. And we're just going to say create new ship. So in creative mode, there's no limitations on what I want. I can just spawn anything I want in. I think we can buy things. Do we have money? I don't know that we have money, so not 100% sure if we can buy things or not. We will find out. But we start completely from scratch. So there is nothing in the world. I roughly thought out what I want to do here, but not with a lot of detail. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to start building some stuff out in a test case. So one of the first things in the ship builder, you have symmetry, right? So if I draw something on one side, it actually draws on both sides. I can also go into a freehand mode. So if I click down here, you can draw out whatever shapes you want to create. Or you can build stuff in boxes. There we go. I can turn that symmetry off or on. There we go. So if you want to build things that are asymmetrical, you can do that. And then you can turn it back on and build things. You can also turn symmetry on and do 4-way symmetry as well, right? So lots of options here on whatever you want to do. The standard one usually tends to be symmetry on there. You can name your ship up here. So we're going to call this one the Lab. Deconstruction gaming. There we go. I'm not going to do anything with it. You can upload your ships to the workshop on Steam, and those Steam workshop ships will find their way into people's games. I don't know what the criteria are, but they can actually happen. Okay, everything else is pretty much the same as the normal game, right? So that kind of is just how things work. Okay. So we can see here we've got our general grid layout. We're going to go, I think let's start with probably a 4x4 of the major grid lines. Let's see. It's kind of weird because is it just my eyes? Like that line looks brighter right there. So I think those are 4x4. So we'll go 6x4, I guess. That'll give us a nice big open lab. Okay, so we start with hull. You're going to notice all the things up here are going to have different stats, right? So as we confirm this, our mass went up, our toughness went up, our value went up, and all of that kind of stuff. This is now just one big giant block. People can't walk around inside of this. You know, it is just a block of stuff. When I took that off, did it fix my issue? One. No, there's still those major lines are right there. So, okay. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add floor. You can do this, again, strategically if you want. You can just highlight everything. It's going to leave a 1 block perimeter around the outside. That's your exterior hull. You're also going to notice our mass toughness is going to change here. So our mass went down, our toughness went down because it's not a solid block of metal anymore. All right, so a couple things I'm going to check here, though. I want to see if DG is working, because I don't see the bot talking in chat, and that's why I missed some of the donations. Yeah, he's not behaving. All right, let's disconnect him and reconnect him here real quick. All right, disconnect. All right, it says he's connected now. He didn't welcome me. He didn't do anything. He's being lazy. All right, well, while he's thinking about doing stuff, we will go ahead and continue. Okay, so one of the first things you're going to need is you are going to need a docking port. Docking ports are used to basically move stuff on and off your ship. So this is the docking port. You know what? I'm going to build this asymmetrical, so we'll put it right here in the center. So you'll see that it actually takes up, 4 by, or 2 by, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My memory is it has to be placed there. Now, one thing about creative mode, I can put stuff anywhere, right? And then I can right click to remove it. That's not true of the full game, but you will know if you place something correctly, because if it's placed incorrectly, you'll get that kind of thing or whatever. Let's check to see if Nightbot's working. Let's see if it's YouTube. Nightbot donate. Let's see if he's up and running today. Okay, so a docking port allows people or things or crew. Yeah, Nightbot's up and running. So just DG's upset. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and restart StreamerBot while we're working here. There we go. Okay, so we have our docking port. Now, because we can just spawn things in here, we're going to do that. But let's go ahead and build some stuff first. So a couple of things I want to do as part of our test is I do want to build out some test rooms and things like that. So I'm going to turn symmetry off. 6, 7, 8. All right, we'll build a 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. All right, so we're just going to put some rooms in like this. Oops. Did I do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then I'm going to put a doorway into 2 of them. We're going to leave that room blocked off. Alright, other things that we're going to do. I'm going to build a hallway. Let's see which way we want to go. Let's go this direction. So wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see what that looks like. That won't be too bad. Then we're going to build a room out here. We'll make it 4 by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, except that's not centered. So let's pull off one there. Alright, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. Let's see. Let's build another hallway. Actually, no, we're not going to build a hallway. We're just going to build a 4 by 4 room out there that's not connected. Alright, then I want to start building some stuff up this direction. So I want to leave a gap here in the center. Actually, I think I've got enough room to do this. Let's test it out. Alright, we're just going to put in some hall here. And I want to go 1 square. And 2 squares. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that'll work. And we're going to build this up. And again, we're building asymmetrically here, right? So I'm not doing symmetry. Alright, so that'll give us some space to play around there. Now, before we put floors in, right, I can't put floor into this, or can I? This might have changed. Okay, cool. Actually, I think this potentially is something new. Don't think it did this before. Yeah, I think before you had to build the hall first and then put the floor in, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's put a doorway. Oh, let's see. Actually, we'll put that in as a door. Okay, it won't let me do that because that wall is not built. But something that's already built, we can put a doorway in. Actually, that's okay because I want to. We'll play around with something there differently. Okay. Let's confirm what we have so far. Actually, let's put in that as well. All right. Let's go ahead and put in right here in the center. All right, we'll eventually put doors and all that. All right, now next thing we're going to do is start spawning some things. We're going to spawn another docking port over here. Like that. And let's put some doors in. Door there, door there. Door and door. Okay, so I think this will get us started, and we'll add more rooms, halls, or anything we need as we go forward. So, one of the first things that you're going to be confronted with is your habitat, power needs, storage needs, and all those kind of things. When you first build, or you first get a ship, the ship is most likely going to be empty. It might have some materials in it. It might have some objects in it. But for the most part, it's going to be empty. So if we look at this one, we don't have a habitat space. We'll deal with that later. We don't have an atmosphere. And the rest of these things are just for building purposes. This is what our exterior hall looks like. Habitat is used for... you need habitat in order to have people on your ship. At least for the courier missions, like if you're transporting people. Not 100% sure if you can put people on your... if you can hire crew if you don't have a habitat space for them. I don't think so. Atmosphere, obviously, to breathe. So that's what we need to start working on next. Okay, Streamer Bot is back up and running. Let's see if DG is back. Okay, so to get atmosphere, hey, DG is back. Welcome back, my friend. I'm not sure what happened to you, but it's good to have you back. So to get atmosphere, we need oxygen. We need all the equipment. But to get that working, we need power. So it's kind of this, what do you do first? Now, your crew will wear their spacesuits. And so you could theoretically work... you can actually build a ship with no atmosphere. And they'll run as long as they have spacesuits and the ability to recharge the oxygen, because it will eventually run out. So as you have those two things, you can actually keep running without an atmosphere. So one of the first things we have to deal with is power. Hey, Kyler, welcome back. So we got to get power going. So let's look at things that are part of power. Reactors, fusion reactors, batteries. Then we need fuel and fuel loaders, potentially tanks. And then there are solar panels. So all those things are part of the electrical system. So that's one of the first things we need. So let's go ahead and get some of that done. Now I'm going to go ahead and spawn some crew. Let's look. Like I said, I don't know that I can buy any of this stuff. No, I think I can. I don't think there's a limit. So, but I'm going to go ahead and spawn some of this stuff. And then we'll move it around. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to place these reactors here. And then we'll place some fusion reactors, some batteries. These won't be their permanent homes. I just want to get them in here to show something. So we'll spawn a couple tanks, some medium tanks, some small tanks. You just need to get an inventory here. Some loaders. Yeah, I don't know. I just had to restart Streamer Bot to get it going. So let's see. We'll worry about that stuff later. We're gonna need some fuel. Did you ever get yours fixed or figured out what was going on? I can try to answer questions. If not, get it up and running. Okay, so we need crew. Now, if you bring crew in through the docking port, let's start with that. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to crew. And we're going to get 5 crew. So I'm going to say shift click there and shift click there. If you buy the spacesuits and the crew at the same time, the game is smart enough to give you crew that won't die. Oh, I didn't save the name of my ship. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so you'll notice... oh, that one reactor. So I don't know if they immediately get in their spacesuits or they just come in their spacesuits, but they are now in their spacesuits. If you are in creative mode, I can just spawn crew. So it did let me have the crew without the habitat, so that's good. That could be a creative mode thing. But I can also just spawn my crew here. So I'm going to spawn 5 crew. Now, I'm paused. If I unpause, we're going to get a message here real quick. Or we should. That my crew is suffocating. Don't die. There we go. That one's suffocating. So you can see there. So he doesn't have air, right? Because we have no atmosphere. We don't have atmosphere because we don't have oxygen. We don't have oxygen because we don't have power. So what you're going to want to do is, again, because we're in creative mode, we're just going to spawn ourselves some spacesuits. Here we go. And you notice as soon as I unpause, as soon as they start suffocating, they run for a spacesuit. That guy can hold his breath longer than the other guys, I guess. There it was. Okay. Now, something else. So one of the first things you need is obviously power and storage. I'm going to go ahead and get my crew busy. And all this stuff I manually put in here, I'm going to dismantle so that they can build it. There we go. We'll get them busy on that. Then we're also going to just buy a bunch of stuff. So we're just going to go here. And we'll just start with oxygen for right now. So I'm going to get 25 oxygen. Okay, so they're going to get busy working here. Yeah, for sure, right? Okay, so now if you watch, the shuttles can come in here. It's going to drop off the oxygen. And it says delivery zone block, create storage zones. So probably arguably one of the first things that you need to do is, if you're going to buy a bunch of stuff to set your ship up, you need a place to put it. So right now the shuttle won't unload anything, and my crew won't move this stuff because there's no place to put it. They won't put things in just an empty spot. So that gives us our storage menu. So the storage menu works like this. You can create different zones for all of your different things. And then down here, there's 2 kind of special spots. So, you know, through here we've got fuel and oxygen and charges and water and pretty much all of the resources, the mining stuff, the things that you can generate, things that you can build, the spacesuits, running missions where you're picking up cargo and delivering it, logistics drones. And then you have 2 special categories. One is called equipment. So you'll notice that all this stuff that I had them dismantle are now in these boxes. And the boxes will actually say what they are, or most of them do. But they're just going to sit there now because there's no place to put them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves an equipment storage spot. We'll just put them along this wall right here since it's relatively centrally located. Alright, so that now is just called box. So now when I unpause, the crew is going to start grabbing things that will go into that type of storage. Again, you notice, oh, there's one there. And then notice it immediately filled up with oxygen. Right? They will find the closest thing. You can watch them work. If you click on this jobs button, you know, you can watch them work. Okay. So to move this stuff out of the way, we need to create a storage zone for oxygen. The other special one, we've got any cargo here. Let's go ahead and use that one first. Any cargo basically is pretty much anything in the game outside of the equipment. So we'll go ahead and just say right along here, you can put any cargo here. Now, as soon as we go over to jobs here, you're going to notice that the green ones are the ones they're currently working on. The yellow ones are queued up. And as the shuttle unloads more oxygen, it's just going to create new jobs. And you'll see them, and again, they're always going to go to the closest place that they can store something. So now we have a place to store anything, which will eventually fill up, but we got all of our oxygen, and that is now filled up. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get specific. So if I say put the oxygen there and put the fuel there, a specific storage spot will override a general cargo spot, right? So now they're going to try to move all of that stuff. If you've watched my other streams, you're going to notice that sometimes on my big ship, I'd get my crew moving stuff all over the place. Now, a couple of things are going to happen here. We're going to notice that our oxygen filled up, so they left these in storage. If one of these gets used or moved, here, let's just do this. If I come in here, I think I can just right click on these and get rid of them. There you go. So I took that oxygen tank out, and so they immediately moved something out of general cargo into specific cargo. So that's always the priority. You know, they'll always put something in a specific style over general, and then if there's no specific left, then it'll go to the general cargo. Now we can use that to our advantages later on when we get into automation. Okay, so a couple of things are happening here. I don't know if in creative mode the suits actually have an oxygen level, and you have to recharge those. Okay, so let's talk about power. We need power. So let's go ahead and start our power system. Now, the least amount of things that you need is a fuel loader, some type of reactor. And you notice that he's carrying fuel over to the fuel loader. Your generic loaders, they won't do that, right? If I put a generic loader in here, it doesn't know what it is yet, but a fuel loader can only hold fuel. So a reactor needs fuel, and so you need a fuel loader and a reactor. That'll get us power rolling in. Fusion reactors we'll talk about later. Batteries are kind of a pseudo battery, pseudo capacitor. You charge them up, and if you can't provide enough power with your reactor, it'll use the stuff out of your battery. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this one up and running. I'm going to go ahead and for right now, I'm going to get rid of all this fuel that we brought in. All right, now again, you can't do that in the main game. Okay, so in the reactor, the one thing that we need to make this work is in a submenu here called pipes. And I need to basically build a pipe between my reactor and my fuel. So the reactor fills up with fuel. You'll notice that our fuel pod here is at 989. So the reactor is just slowly going to use fuel. Now, if we give it something to do, it's going to use more fuel, right? So the more megawatts it has to do, the more fuel it's going to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and start thinking about our habitation. So we need oxygen to make this ship work. So let's go ahead and go back here, and let's go through. Actually, let's do it this way. It'll be easier to see. If you click here, it's going to show you everything that you possibly might need. We've got tanks, we've got oxygen loaders, air ducts, so that provides air to your ship. CO2 removes CO2 from your ship. Spacesuit pod will actually recharge your spacesuits. Sewage is for water. That's for water. Oxygen maker will turn water into oxygen. Air reprocessor will take CO2 and turn it into oxygen. That's not for oxygen. There's the actual oxygen there. We're going to need some food here in a minute so my crew doesn't starve, so we'll take care of that in a minute. So let's go ahead and do that real quick so they don't complain about it. Oops. There we go. And again, I'm just going to use the the spawn-in version. So again, notice the crew moved it over to general cargo. Okay. So we need to build out our system. So I'm going to buy the stuff that we need. That way the crew will grab it. Let's build the simplest system that you need, and we'll go from there. So we're gonna get a couple tanks. We'll get a couple air ducts. We'll get a couple oxygen loaders. A couple CO2 scrubbers. And a couple air processors. So I'm waiting for those to be delivered. And again, I could just spawn them in, which is fine. Our crew's thirsty as well. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that manually here. I don't want my crew to die. So we're just going to grab some water. There we go. We're actually doing pretty good today. We started the weekend. Oh, actually, we started the weekend just under. We're at 973. So we're up 300 already during this stream. We started this week, I think, on Monday at 600. So we're up 600 so far for the week. Okay, so again, crew's going to kick into gear there and get their work done. Okay, so now it's time to build out the simplest form of habitation for oxygen that we need. So we're going to go to our install menu here, and we are going to install an air duct. And you'll notice that it highlights the ones that you're going to do. Let's put it all the way up here. So we'll just go from left to right. So we need an air duct, and we need an oxygen loader. And that's basically it. That will get you up and running. So you're going to see the crew do three things here. They're going to carry the boxes that they got up there to install the things. As soon as that's installed, another crew is going to grab a tank of oxygen and bring that oxygen up. Now, oxygen in the oxygen loader does us absolutely no good until we put a pipe in. So we'll put a pipe there. Now, one thing about pipes, you cannot cross pipes, right? So if I run a fuel line up here and try to cross it into this, now it's confused. You can see it's like, no, this is oxygen, now you got fuel. So you can't cross these over, right? So be aware of that. Sometimes it takes some interesting ship layouts to make sure you're not doing that. Okay, so we've got the oxygen. It's piped in, but you notice that our air duct doesn't have any power. So we need to wire that up. So the next thing we need is cables. So we're just going to run that up to here. Cables can cross pipes, that's fine. And off we go. Okay, so a couple things I'm going to do here just for testing purposes. I probably shouldn't have bought quite so much oxygen, but that's okay because I can just delete it. So again, a lot of what I'm doing here is only in creative mode. If you're playing the full game, you can't just spawn and delete things. It would take a lot of the challenge away from it. Okay, so you're going to see now our oxygen is loading into the air duct. Our oxygen meter up here is going up, but you'll also see that it's trying to fill this room up first. If you don't have doors, so let's go ahead and pause here. So I'm going to take the door out of here. Right, so now it treats these as one room. So if you would ever get a hull breach, if you have doors, the doors will seal in oxygen. And so a room can discharge and it'll stop it from happening. Now our one air duct's going to have to work pretty hard here, so I'm going to speed up time. So you can see that as the oxygen flows in, we're slowly starting to build up. You'll see a percentage up here. We're at 33%. You also see the same percentage down here. 40%. These are not filling up with oxygen because we have no way for the oxygen to get there. This one is completely separated, right? And this one has a solid wall with no door. So you need the oxygen to be able to flow. Let's go ahead and go to 10 times here. You can see our reactors just working away. Our fuel is down to how much? 958. Not too bad. And so that one air duct's working really hard. This probably is not enough. Actually, so here. We have now run out of oxygen, right? Because I deleted all of them. So if I put in another tank of oxygen, our crew's going to throw it into storage and then carry it up here, right? So we're depleting that tank of oxygen to fill up our ship. So now we are at 65%. And again, we haven't opened up this part yet. So one more tank of oxygen. Okay, so we're now at 100% oxygen inside of our main ship here. 0 oxygen here, right? Because it has no way to get there. So one of the things you have to watch out for now is, so we've got our oxygen slowly being used up. You can see on the little meter that the tank is burning through oxygen because our crew should have put their spacesuits away. So the crew are now outside their spacesuits and they're using up the oxygen, right? We're going to keep the speed up to 10 here. And so we're just consuming this oxygen out of this small little tank. All right, let's go even faster. So that's basically our crew breathing. And 2 things will start to happen. This is a big ship, so it might take a little bit. But you're going to see our low oxygen meter there is saying you don't have any oxygen left. And then once this tank is empty, right? So now our air duct quit working. It can't spread oxygen anymore. And so if we watch the meter up here, it is now starting to deplete. As is the room, which we'll start to see, like, it's almost like a little meter, right? The little green starting to drop. And that just means we're running out of oxygen. And just like they did before, when we put them in and we spawned them in, you know, eventually, if there's no oxygen, the crew's going to run for their spacesuits. Our fuel is still not using a ton of fuel because we don't have a lot of stuff going on here. All right, let's go ahead and, because I want a whole bunch of people using up our resources, so. All right, that should be 25 spacesuits. We have, what, 9 crew? Yeah, let's check our spacesuits. I want to make sure I have enough spacesuits for all my crew. So yeah, we have 25 spacesuits. And so we got 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So here on the left-hand side, you can see that we've got crew now here. So they're just consuming our resources. So oxygen's dropping because there's no way to replenish it. Now if I bought one, they would put it in here. Which brings us to kind of the next component that you're often going to want in these systems. So let's build a second oxygen system here. I'm doing it in schematic mode because it's easier to place. So we're also going to start this one with an air duct. But this time we're going to put a tank in. So tanks are a way to store a resource. And then we'll put an oxygen loader in. Now the oxygen loader cannot rotate, nor can the fuel loader. So you have to put them in this orientation. The generic loader can actually rotate. You can build it however you want, so it's kind of nice. So this one we have to do the same thing. We would run a pipe. Now we can run a pipe to our air duct, and notice that it's not crossing through the tank, so the tank won't store anything. Also, I could run an oxygen loader just directly to the small tank, and it's going to put the oxygen in there. So if I dismantle this oxygen loader, and then we spawn ourselves another oxygen. Nope, or crew. Oh, our crew is suffocating. Okay, so that means our oxygen has dropped. Have the other crew already put their spacesuits on? They have. Okay. Let's fix this so I don't kill crew. So evidently I want 30 crew. Alright, so let's give them spacesuits. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 4 more crew. 3, 4. Alright. Put your spacesuits on. Boink, boink. They put the spacesuits in storage, so they had to go and get it. Okay, so we're low on fuel, our batteries are low, and we're low on oxygen. We have an oxygen loader, so if I spawn oxygen, the crew's immediately going to put it in the loader. And our loader, now we're playing on really, really fast. Let me slow ourselves down. It took all the oxygen out of that tank, loaded it into here. But because this tank is not connected to our oxygen system, we're still not getting oxygen into the ship. Now notice that we're no longer using oxygen because it got low enough that our crew put on their spacesuits. So let's go ahead and correct that. So we're going to go ahead and hook the pipe up here. So now we've got a pipe that runs across our oxygen loader, our tank, and this. The nice part about having tanks, or two nice things about tanks. One, the time it takes for your crew to reload these loaders, like in a fuel loader, if you have a ship that's pulling a lot of fuel, you could actually, your reactors could go offline and stuff because you had to wait for the next canister of fuel. Where in this system, even if they don't immediately load oxygen to this, we've got a reserve, right? Now notice that I connected it to this air duct. This air duct doesn't have power. So this one has power but no oxygen. This one has oxygen but no power. In that situation, we're not adding oxygen, right? So let's go ahead and correct that. There's two ways we can correct that. We can cable this up, get that fired up. And we could also link these two together. Alright, so there's our atmosphere flowing in again. I'm going to go ahead and speed us up. And now our crew is going to ditch their spacesuits once they feel satisfied that we're not going to suffocate them to death. Or did we not have enough oxygen? Yeah, we need one more oxygen tank. Yeah, so notice we depleted that tank. So we've used up all of our oxygen and we didn't fill it up enough. So let's spawn one more. put it in storage, and they're going to bring it back. There it is. All right, we made it up to 83%. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of set up a little bit smarter system here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say store oxygen up here. And then we'll spawn in some oxygen. So we'll quit running out of oxygen. Now I could have put them in the storage zone, but I want to make our crew do the work. All right, we're going to slow this back down. We're going to look at the jobs. So here we go. You can see, now we have 30 crew. So they each basically grabbed an item. Now if I spawn in more oxygen, you'll notice that they're going to take this down to the general cargo storage because there's no more oxygen specific storage available. Also, you'll notice that this tank is slowly draining into this tank. Now, these tanks have different amounts that they can hold. Small tank is it 6,000? I think a small tank is 6,000. Is that right? Medium tank is 9,000 and a huge tank is 22,500. But what that means, okay, so here, let's check the jobs. So they moved the one tank of oxygen over here, and we should have, there, oh no, because we still have oxygen storage down here. So notice that they didn't fill this one up because there was enough oxygen storage down here to store it. They're not going to put it closest to where it's needed. So that's kind of what you have to do, right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take that oxygen storage away. So now they're moving oxygen to general cargo and the one tank up to there. All right, so let's get rid of our storage here. Is this one full yet? Nope. Okay, so you see they moved the closest tank over, and now that there's a available spot there, somebody's taking one out of general cargo and just putting it there. So our atmosphere is filling up. Actually, it's full because we still have these areas blocked off. All right, now I don't know if in creative mode. Let's find out. The next thing we're going to have to deal with our habitation system. Let's see. Let's put in a habitation deck, though, so that we do have it. Because we're going to need it for other stuff. Where do we want our people to live? Let's put it in the top corner. Alright, so we're just going to go here. Alright, so we're going to confirm that. So this is now a habitation deck, but we can't get to the deck. So there's one thing that we have to do here, and that is we need a ladder. So we're just going to spawn one in. Now I'm going to spawn it way down here. So it's not valid. So you notice again, my habitation deck is saying we can't get to that. Think of it as like a second floor to your ship, right? You'll notice it's sticking through here, but we can't, the two are not linked up. So this is just going to the roof as opposed to the second floor. So let's go back inside. We'll dismantle that. And then we're going to reinstall it. That's a loader. There's the ladder. And I think we can put it right here. Now, the direction that it faces matters. You notice if I try to put it against the wall, you can't get into it. So we're just going to put it here for two reasons. One, you'll notice that it changed my storage. You can't store stuff there anymore. But now we have a ladder up into our habitation deck. You'll also notice that now my crew is generating sewage at a really fast rate because I'm running at 20 times speed. We're going to deal with that later. Okay. So something is starting to happen here. You're going to notice that we now have a CO2 buildup. Our crew is breathing in the oxygen, but they're breathing out CO2, and we haven't done anything with that CO2. So let's build our third version of an oxygen, or of an air system, essentially. So I think we're going to need some more stuff. So let's get another air duct. I think we've got enough other things. Let's spawn a couple of those in case we need them. Okay, there we go. So our CO2 is built up to a point where we're getting a warning. There's a dangerous buildup of CO2 inside your ship. If it reaches 100%, your crew will suffocate. Consider buying a CO2 scrubber and connecting it to your storage tank. So let's build our third version. So we're going to slow speed back down here. So we're going to build this the same way. Did I have another oxygen loader? Nope, let's spawn one of those in as well. We're going to build these out as separate systems now, just so we can see the differences. And then we'll separate this pipe. Then we'll install our oxygen loader. There we go. So that was our first system. Then the other change I'm going to make here is I like to run cables down the walls so they don't block the view of things. It doesn't matter. It works either way. But it's just a personal preference. Okay. Air system number 3. We're going to start again with our air duct. Let's put it in the same orientation we did the other. So I'm just hitting the R key to rotate. Then we're going to go ahead and put in ourselves a medium tank. Then we're going to put in... Well, there's two things we can do here. Let's do version 1. I can just put a CO2 scrubber in, right? So we're going to put that in over here. Actually, let's just put it in down here. And this will solve our problem. If I wire this up, speed up a little bit here. All right. So our CO2 scrubber started up, and it scrubbed out CO2. I don't know if we could see the difference, but it has nowhere to put that CO2. So this is what we can do here is we could actually install a loader, and we'll run a pipe there to there, and then I'm going to spawn some food so our people don't starve. And they're probably going to need some water too, so we'll spawn them some water. There we go. Okay, so here comes our crew. They install the loader. And now the loader starts. And nothing happens. We right click on our loader because this is built to load in a resource, right? But I can switch it to unload. And now our CO2 scrubber is basically bottling up CO2. So if we look up here, our CO2 just went down a percentage, right? Then I guess you could sell this. It doesn't sell for a lot. Can Can we buy CO2? I don't even know if you can buy it. CO2 scrubber. Yeah, so 1,000. So I guess if you were desperate and you had a CO2 scrubber, you could scrub the CO2 out that way. Let's go ahead and actually we'll just convert this back to a loader. So it stops scrubbing out the CO2. So we still have a CO2 problem, but it helped it. So let's build our third air system. So we have our air duct, just like we had before. We're going to put a medium tank in there. We're going to see a new piece of equipment here called the air processor. Let's put it... this is a little bit ugly, but it'll work. All right, I'm going to put another tank in. I'm going to put our CO2 scrubber in. And then let's cable this up. Okay, so this is similar to what we did down here. We have a CO2 scrubber that's scrubbing CO2, but as soon as it gets full, so it gathered 20, it can hold 20, it has nowhere to put that CO2. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pipe that into a tank. So now all of that CO2 is going down there. And then temporarily here, I'm just going to pipe this together as well. So our loader is actually loading in CO2 into the system. And once that's empty, that tank will go away. And then we're just going to tear that down. Pull these pipes out. Pull these cables out. And we'll work on this system. Okay, so the other reason that we like to have tanks. Each of these can hold 1,000. This tank can hold 1,500 per square. So if you were just storing 6 canisters of oxygen, you would have 6,000, whereas here you'll have 9,000. So if we look here, we've almost scrubbed out all of our CO2. Let's go ahead and I'm going to, let's just delete our oxygen that we have here. Okay, so our system's actually looking pretty good. We have this tank that has 6,000 oxygen in it. This tank is draining. Again, the 83% is, we have 100%. It's just because we have these rooms that have no oxygen. We'll deal with those in a little bit. So once that tank drains out, we have no more reserve oxygen, but we do have this nice big tank here. If I dismantle this tank, you'll notice it went away. If I reinstall that tank, you notice the oxygen is gone. So if you dismantle a tank, you're going to lose that oxygen. Okay, so you can see now our oxygen is going down. We have no oxygen coming into the system. But the CO2 scrubber has been scrubbing out CO2, and we now have this tank full of CO2. So let's finish our system here. So I want to take this CO2 into the air reprocessor. Let's slow things down here a little bit. So now it kicked on. So it's taking CO2 out of this tank until it was actually blocked. It can hold 15 oxygen. So I now have 15 oxygen sitting here that I don't have access to. And our oxygen up here is probably still dropping. Let's speed up time. So there we go, we're down to 73. So again, we're going to pipe our oxygen. Now we could go directly out of the air reprocessor and into here, right? But if this can't keep up, or this can't keep up, we could still get blocked here. So let's see how our air reprocessor is doing. Seems to be doing okay. But in case of emergency, or if we would run out of CO2, right? So if I take this and I dismantle that tank, Right, so all that CO2 is now gone. So our CO2 scrubber is still running. And it's providing CO2 to the air reprocessor. But you notice it, see how that quit turning? So this is only, anytime this gets CO2, it's going to put it over here. And this is going to create oxygen, but we're at a deficit now. Right, you notice that our oxygen is now going down again because this just can't keep up. So what we want to do is we want to get this system so that we want to scrub the CO2, but we want to take any oxygen we have and get it into storage here. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and add one more thing to our system here. Probably should have put it over there. Let's go ahead and just dismantle these two things. And you can build these however you want. You don't have to put them in rows. You know, whatever works for you. I'm going to put a loader into that. Then we're going to put our air reprocessor back in. And we're going to put our medium tank back in. And we'll put our CO2 scrubber back in. And I think we're going to want to move that tank. I like to line up my medium tank. There we go. And then let's check our piping. We need to put that there, that there, that there. Cables. Okay, so our system's back up and running. I'm going to go ahead and dismantle those two oxygen loaders for now. So we've stabilized, right? So speed back up here. You know, you can see that we're roughly generating and losing oxygen at the same rate. So let's go ahead and install, or let's just spawn a couple tanks of oxygen. Because this loader is in an oxygen system, they're smart enough to know to load oxygen in. So now you can see this tank is actually filling up. If this tank got completely full, the air reprocessor can't push any oxygen into it, so it would get backed up, which then would mean the CO2 scrubber couldn't do that. So these tanks become almost like overflows, right? If I just built this, you know, this way, let's just build a simple system. So if I have an air duct, and then an air reprocessor, and then a CO2 scrubber. Right, this system would completely work. So if we pipe this up, connect that to that, connect that to that, power it up. This is a completely functional system. The problem with this system is if any of these things stop, it breaks the whole system. There's no overflow, right? So, for instance, if for whatever reason this tank got, or whatever reason, but that tank gets full, so I'm just going to break this. So if this was full, the air reprocessor can't push any more oxygen through the system. So now it is blocked, or it will be blocked here. There we go. Now it's blocked. Well, the CO2 scrubber can now keep doing its job because the overflow is going in here. If I disable that CO2 scrubber and rely on this CO2 scrubber, so you notice that one's getting blocked. It's mostly keeping up. But let's say the tank got full. Like this is processing more oxygen than we have storage space for. So let's go ahead and break that connection. So now this CO2 scrubber is now blocked. So this system now is broken, and it's going to take a little while. But because this CO2 scrubber can't do its job, because there's no place to put the CO2, because there's no place to put the oxygen, again, if our tank was full, that's when we would see our CO2 start to pop up again. Low oxygen in this case does not mean the atmosphere. The atmosphere is full. It's just your storage of oxygen is low. So again, I don't know how long it's going to take to see our CO2 start to build up here, but it'll kick in eventually. 40 times speed. You can see you can go quite a while without a CO2 scrubber, but it will eventually catch up with you. Okay, the next thing that's about to happen is you're going to see we're running low on fuel. And that's going to cause all kinds of problems. Wow, I'm actually surprised. It's taken a lot longer to generate CO2 than I thought it would, but it's a big ship. I think the smaller your ship, we have a lot of space here, right? And we have a lot of people using the air, but we do have a lot of space. They might put their spacesuits on before we have the CO2 problems. All right, so let's get this back up and running. So notice that we're not getting a warning yet. So let's go ahead and put this back online. So we'll turn our CO2 scrubber back on there. So you notice our oxygen just went to orange, to yellow there. And then let's pipe this back up. So notice all that CO2 is now scrubbing out of the air, right? Like it was in the air. It just wasn't enough to trigger the warning because of the size of our ship. But you can see just how fast this, I mean, again, we're running at 40 times speed. But we're definitely pulling that CO2 out. All right, so now if we fire this back up, now all that CO2 is being converted to oxygen, and you'll see our oxygen number is starting to go back up again. This system, still not working. Okay, so there you go. So this is kind of it's one step away from everything that you could want. Now, the last thing is you can build oxygen out of water. I tend not to do that. It's easier just to buy oxygen. But this is the complete system, right? We're removing the bad stuff, have an overflow tank, we process it, and then you can just add more to this system. You can add a second air reprocessor or more air ducts or things like that. All right, so let's try something different here. We'll build ourselves a simple little system down here. There we go. So our fuel supply is dead. So our reactor went offline. Let's slow back down here. Which also means none of this stuff is working. So let's fix this little problem that we have here. So the one thing that you probably want to do, we'll put a big tank in for this, is not run all your systems off of a single loader. Like, even if we had fuel in the ship, which I took out, you can sometimes, your crew might be busy, and if you run out of fuel and everything powers down until they get the next canister here, you're just kind of at the mercy of hoping everything fires back up. So we're going to do that, and then we will get ourselves some fuel. Okay, so two things are happening now. We go back to our storage solution. We had this place for fuel. If I take that away from them, they're going to move all of it down to general cargo. But what you normally are going to want to do is you'll want to put your storage of the commodity that you need close to where it's going to be used, right? So if I come in here, we'll set up a storage for fuel, and we'll just say put fuel here. Even if you have some in bulk cargo, you want this close so that when fuel is needed, like if we look at jobs, so this fuel is just going to drain because it's going into this tank. Now, medium tank, small tank, large tank, they all hold 1,500 per square. So it's more about what can you fit in. So, okay, so we drain this tank out. What we should see is as soon as that goes out, slow back down. We need to load another fuel canister in. They should grab, yep, see, grabbed that one because it was the closest one, and then they're moving one out of general cargo. If that takes longer, it's okay because you got the fuel reload done relatively quickly. Okay, so something I want to test here, because I don't know if it's going to work or not, is we're going to put an air duct in over here. And I believe the crew is smart enough to go outside and install this, but I might be wrong. I think I'm wrong. Okay, so I thought, my memory was, if you had docking ports, they'll go outside to install things. There's certain things that you can install on the exterior of your ship. So let's talk about that. Scaffolding. Scaffolding is a different material. One thing you're going to notice is as I add this, it makes no change, maybe to the value, but the mass and the toughness of the ship, yeah, no change at all. Things I can install out here, though. We can install tanks on scaffolding. And so in this case, our crew will put on his little spacesuit. And he'll go outside and he'll install the tank. Most things you can't install out here, right? So CO2 scrubber, a reactor, you can install a reactor outside. Oxygen loader, no. Loader, no. Fusion reactor, you can. Batteries, you can. Air duct wouldn't make any sense. Air reprocessor, I'm surprised. It's more than I thought. Why would you put stuff outside? Not a lot of good reason outside of just you want a really, really light hull. If you get into combat, these things are vulnerable. If they need to be repaired or reloaded, all that stuff has to happen out here. But the one cool thing you can do with scaffolding is you can run electricity and pipes over it. So if you had a situation where, let's say we had something like this, and I didn't want to run all my stuff up and around, I could put scaffolding in here. Actually, just one row of it would be enough. And I can run cables across that, and I can run pipes across that. You know, both are valid. So it can be used to connect sections of your ship. One thing that you can install, that you have to install on scaffolding, are solar panels. So if I put my solar panels in here, you're going to notice that they are now invalid. That's an invalid placement. So we'll dismantle those. Now the last thing on our power is you're going to see our power grid here. This circle represents our maximum capacity, and this represents the draw on that capacity. A reactor like we have in there will do 100 megawatts. Solar panels will do 10. So if I put these two solar panels out here, again, our little dudes will don their spacesuits, come out there and install them. We'll connect this to our power system. There we go. And as those get installed, so two things are going to happen. We're drawing 25 megawatts, and that's all coming from our reactor. Or it was. Now 20 of that is coming from our solar panels and only 5 from our reactor. Now, the amount of power, so this is 9 squares, right? These 9 squares are generating 100 megawatts and using fuel. These are 1, 2, what are they? 4 by 8, I think. And they're only doing 10. But it is passive. You know, it's not costing me anything once you get them installed. So solar panels take up a lot of space, create a little bit of power. The last thing we need to look at for our energy system are batteries. So let's install our batteries up here. How many did I buy? 6. 6 makes sense. Let's see, battery. I'll just put 2 more in. Alright, so now if we look at our power grid, we have battery capacity. Each of these lines represents a single battery. But you notice they're empty because they're not on the grid. So if we put that one on the electrical grid, you can see our reactor spun up. 120 megawatts is our cap, 100 for the reactor, 10 for each of the solar panels. Once that battery is full, then the reactor spins down. Now it takes time for the reactor to get up to 100 megawatts. So this is where batteries are kind of nice, because if we put a second one in here, you can see it spin up, spinning up, spinning up. Now it's at full capacity. So there's a delay in that. So if you have a big power draw on your system, the batteries can deal with that. And then it spins back down. So we'll go ahead and put these on the grid. And you'll see our battery meter start to fill up. Alright, they're still not installing that, so that is no longer, never was a thing. I'm not 100% sure. Alright, the last thing, which is more of a in-game element. It's not something you're going to start with. But we have the deuterium fusion reactor. This one's kind of a special case, so you can see how much bigger it is, but it'll do 500 megawatts, right? So you're looking at, that'd be 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 200, about 260 megawatts worth of space if you installed normal reactors, if you put one of these reactors in. Alright, so we need to install. Sorry, something caught in my throat there. Let's get ourselves a tank, because we're going to need fuel for this. Put ourselves a loader. And we'll start in loading in the fuel that it needs, which starts with a D. Deuterium. Alright, that should be enough. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and go into our storage here. And we want to store this stuff as close to here as needed. We'll go ahead and... horrible. This is a horrible build. Alright, we'll just do that. That looks cleaner. Alright, so they should throw one of those in there. And... hey, thanks. Appreciate it, Professor H. Hello! They usually put me on there for Dex events, so... okay, so this deuterium reactor. It is not like the normal reactor. It takes work to start up, right? So if I want to make this thing run, we have to give it power. So it needs power to create power. So we're going to attach it to our system here. And you're going to see the reactors spin up and the batteries start to drain. And you can see it's activating. 16, 17, 18%. We look at our power grid. Our power grid is just draining batteries. 40%, 50%. This might be enough. I don't think it's going to be. Oh, we made it. All right, so that thing is now kicked up. So it's spun up, and now our power grid has tons and tons of power. And then our battery's filled up, and it spun back down. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to cut that off. We're going to take those out of the system. Actually, I think you have to shut its fuel off. Once it starts up, I think it's fine. It'll just use up its fuel. So let's go ahead and shut the reactor down. Alright, so now that it's off, it has to start back up. So we're going to go with 4 batteries here. So again, the reactor spun up. Alright, so it's activating. Activating. Our batteries are almost drained. It's at 50%. And we have no more battery power. And now you'll notice the activation is starting to drop. We don't have enough power. That 100 megawatt reactor is not enough to jumpstart this. Right? So it's just sitting here trying to pull in fuel, trying to get itself started. But it doesn't have enough power. So it's kind of a special case in that you need power to get it started up. But once it's started up and running, it'll run. It does use its own type of fuel, which is different than this kind of fuel. So kind of keep that in mind. You know, it's a slightly different way of doing things. Now, I'm going to guess if we hook this battery up, it's still not going to be enough because the 400 already wasn't enough. So you can see the batteries are draining. We look at our power grid. Once those batteries are dead, the 100 megawatts just isn't enough. I don't know off the top of my head what it takes to get it started. I think it's somewhere between 3 and 4 reactors. So somewhere between 300 and 400, maybe up to 500. All right, so what we're going to do here, we'll just charge our batteries back up. And now, actually, let's do this test. We'll just install more reactors. Pretty sure it's somewhere between 3 and 4. All right. We'll hook these up to fuel. Get them fired up. Okay, so we're going to keep our batteries out of the system. All right, so we'll cable this up. And notice that it got up to... Oh, our batteries are still in the system. Hold on. There we go. Now they're not. Alright, so it's not enough. So let's go ahead and add a second reactor. So it's spinning up now. Alright, it's climbing, climbing, climbing. Slowing down, slowing down. And I think it will just sit here and do this until it runs out of fuel. Right? It's burning through fuel. We can't see it, but it's burning through fuel. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring another reactor online. So we're spinning up 300 megawatts now. So same thing. It's just not enough power. Alright, let's bring our fourth reactor online. So again, you can see as that reactor spins up. There we go. So 4 reactors was enough. 8 batteries in a reactor was enough as well. Alright, so that is the power. The different power things that you can do. If we go to our trade network, so we've got energy, reactor, fusion reactor, batteries, tanks, loaders, solar panels, fuel. We've dealt with all of that. We'll talk about that in a second. Habitation. We've got tanks and air ducts, but we haven't dealt with our water system. So let's do 2 things here. First off, let's get ourselves some food, evidently. Crew is just burning through food. It's because I'm running at fast speed as well. There we go. And just to be efficient, let's have them put the food in there. Okay, so let's finish up our issues with our atmosphere here, right? So if I put a floor in right here, you can see it drain the air out of the rest of the ship to fill this section in. And our oxygen is going up. Let's go ahead and reattach our batteries. Alright, so now we have oxygen in that part of the ship. We're still only at 92% because we have this issue going on as well. Now, I guess if you wanted this to be separate, you could actually install the stuff, you know, with a tunnel and then take the tunnel back out. There's not a lot of reason to do that, so let's go ahead and we will add hull between these 2 and then build ourselves a nice little section there. I'm going to pause so that I can install the door. Alright, so that should allow the air to flow in. You should also see our crew run over here. And we're going to see if, when they open the door, see if they can get there. Yeah, they should be able to get there. Alright, so you notice that no oxygen is flowing in here yet. Here comes our crew. Notice he put on a spacesuit. Right? Okay, there we go. So I think we capped out here and now it's allowing it through. There used to be functionality on the doors that lets you make them so air flowed through or air didn't flow through, so you could seal them off. But they seem to have taken that out at some point. Let's see if it's in here. I don't think so. Nope. So, you know, the air is flowing in there. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually, you know, pipe this up, try to run my oxygen all the way up to here. It'd be a pain, but it would actually work. And then as soon as this oxygen pops up, we should hit 100%, although we're about to run out of oxygen. So how is our oxygen supply? So it's all in that tank, so we don't have any oxygen in storage anymore. We're also out of deuterium. Although we have a tank full of it, so we're just going to let that ride. Okay, the other thing we need to deal with here is our water system. So if we look at our habitation deck, that's interesting. Where'd all of our sewage go? We had a ton of sewage at one time. I'm not sure. Unless we wrapped it over the top, that might be possible. I wonder if it has a maximum amount. Can't say I've ever seen that before. I don't know what that would be because we ran on high speed for a long time. So we might have capped it out and it just reset. That one I'll have to look up. I can't say I've ever seen that happen before. Anyway, so let's deal with this though. So we have our habitation deck and we also need water. Water is something that our crew uses quite a bit of. And so we need to build out a water system. So let's put that... we'll put it over here. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to need is a sewage pipe. Did I buy one? Nope, we'll have to spawn one. Sewage pipe works kind of like the ladder, right? You have to put it in a spot that has access to the deck, right? So if I put one over there, you know, it doesn't do me any good. You can see my sewage is still going up. So I want to put it somewhere that I can actually use it. And that was not a good spot. So let's just unspawn that one, put it down there. There we go. So now it's in that corner, which should be that square right there. All right, but notice again, same thing. It says output is blocked. It's holding 10 sewage, but our deck up here is still generating sewage. So it's time to build our water system. Now, water is one of those that your crew, as long as you have water on board, right, in these water canisters, they'll use the water. So you don't have to have a water system per se in your ship, but it is helpful. So let's go ahead and talk about what a water system is. So we have the sewage. Now we need to get the other parts. So let's go to the habitation. Much like the air system, there's multiple things here. We have the sewage pipe. We have waste treatment, water purification, technically ice grinder. That'll take Comet ice and help you out. Hydroponics garden use water, and compost comes out of the system. So much like we did before, we're going to go ahead and get a whole bunch of these things and build a couple different versions of it. I'm going to do it this way just because it's quicker. So we got our sewage pipe. So we need waste treatment machines. So again, I'm just going to put 4 in there. We'll grab some medium tanks. Throw 4 of those in there. Need water purifiers. We'll throw 4 of those in. And then we're just going to take this stuff, tear it apart. Okay, so if we have sewage, the simplest system will be to build a waste treatment plant and a water purifier. And then I guess if we wanted to, we'll throw a loader into this system. All right, so this will be about as simple of a system as we can make. We need power over here. So let's run power out of those. Now notice I can't run power across the gap. I could run it down, or I could put scaffolding in. Either works. Okay, so if I get this up online, we're going to notice that our sewage should start to drop again. Temporarily, anyway. Maybe not. We might be generating it faster than we can deal with it. That's a possibility. So we have the same system or issue here in that... Oh, I didn't hook the sewage up. Alright. So we'll run our sewage pipe over. There we go. So we're dropping sewage, dropping sewage, dropping sewage. And then eventually this is going to start going up again. There we go. Going back up. So what's happened there is our waste treatment plant is full of wastewater and compost. So same thing. We need to go ahead and pipe that up. We'll give this power. And it's going to take that wastewater and it's going to create water out of it. Now that one's blocked. All right, so same thing, you know, much like our air system, we can now run a pipe from here to here. And if we want to, we can turn this into an unloader. And now we can build these canisters of water. All right, so let's build a more complex version of this. You know, again, you can see here, our output is blocked, right? And we might be creating sewage. We're processing it roughly about the speed that we're creating it. The more people are on your ship, the more sewage you're going to make. All right, so let's build our more robust version of this. We're going to take a medium tank. We'll put a medium tank in, our waste treatment. And you can put more than one tank in your system, right? If you want, you know, to have more storage. So in this one, we're going to go this way. That way. And so for instance, if I want to do something like this... All right, let's pipe this up. Okay, so we're going to branch off of here, and we're going to put sewage in this tank. So now this isn't blocked anymore. We go to our habitat. It's draining sewage now. Now, having sewage in that habitat I don't think is an issue. But we'll go ahead and say our sewage goes to there, our wastewater goes to there. We'll bring power down to this system. And now this system will be up and running. And I'm going to go ahead and shut power off to that version. All right, so you can see our sewage tank is starting to fill up. And our waste treatment and our water purifier were running at basically the same speed. But now that our water purifier doesn't have anywhere to put the water, again, I have this in the system. So if my tanks were full, if this loses power, whatever, it doesn't stop this from processing. Very similar to the oxygen system. But if I fire this up, now I'm storing water here. And we'll go ahead and put a loader into this system as well. So now we can start to move all of those tanks of water. That again, the tanks are 1,000 units of water. But I can store 1,500 per square in this water system here. Let's see, let's keep unloading water there. Alright, so you see this is at 41, 40, 39. So this purifier is running basically a little bit faster than this. We're now creating water and we're loading water in. hopefully here eventually. There's our water tank. Now you're going to see these start to go up quite a bit. There we go. See the speed increase because we're loading water in. Let's check our habitat deck. So now we're processing sewage as it comes in. No sewage backup. Now, same thing. You can use an unloader, unload sewage and sell it. Compost, you can sell it. You can use it for hydroponic gardens and different things along those lines as well. Okay, so we basically have now our energy system in place and our habitat in place. Again, the only thing we didn't put in, we'll do it for completeness here, is an oxygen maker. Let's just get it this way though. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge in that my water treatment system's way over here. I've got sewage pipes, I've got fuel pipes, I've got all kinds of things in between the two. I'm going to do something a little weird here. We will put this here. Let's go ahead and cable this up. And then we're going to put this system into this. This is horrible piping. But now we have this oxygen pipe that we need to run. And then let's turn this into a loader, not an unloader. So how do we get this oxygen to our oxygen section? Well, we could just run this oxygen to here. We'd have to run it around the water, but that's doable. I can't run it here because it's going to hit the sewage pipe. I can't run it here because it's going to hit that. It'll hit sewage. So if I want to try to get that all the way over to here, it would be difficult. Now I could do something really ugly. Like we could do something like this. Where is the... Alright. Like I could run scaffolding up. I've never done this on a ship, but if I wanted to. That theoretically can work. And now if I wanted to run a pipe of oxygen right, so I can now run it all along the scaffolding. And I can pipe it into this one. So this air duct now is getting oxygen from this oxygen maker. Notice it says it's blocked. So it is creating oxygen faster than a single air duct can suck it in. So oftentimes when you're building these things, you'll want to link this stuff together, right? So if we bring these together, now all the air ducts are in the system. You can see the tanks are, these two tanks are equaling out, so they have the same percentage. So that one's going down, that one's going up. Then eventually, when those equal out, that one's still going up, that one's still going down. This one will keep creating oxygen, but it's doing it at the cost of water. Right now our water's still going up because we have water in the loaders, so we're doing okay there. But if you notice this is changing 4 water over to 4 oxygen. So if you have access to a lot of water and don't want to buy oxygen, you could do it this way. I usually find it cheaper just to buy oxygen. And if you're not using an oxygen maker, your water stays pretty even. You can get your water and oxygen to basically replenish themselves. If you look at some of the conversion rates here, right? 10 sewage, 9 wastewater, and then 2 wastewater equals 2 water. So you're losing a little bit in that conversion. We come over here. So we've got this, which is CO2 scrubbing. This takes 5 CO2 and turns it into 5 oxygen. And so really the difference is however much the crew uses. But they can stabilize pretty pretty well. You don't spend a lot of time having to deal with, you have to buy stuff every once in a while. So same thing here. We'll pipe this into our CO2 system. So now we have 2 CO2 scrubbers, but we also have 2 processors. Notice this one's getting blocked because this air duct can't use it fast enough. So if we pipe that into the tank, now it'll put stuff in the tank. That one's going up. That one's going up, which means our water to oxygen is actually replenishing our oxygen here. All right. So if we go down our list, that's pretty much it for habitation. Gardening, a little bit beyond starting your ship up. Next thing we need is propulsion. We need to be able to move our ship. So the first thing that you're going to have, and a lot of starships will start with this, is an engine. So we're going to go ahead and spawn some engines. And we'll put them in horribly bad places. They won't work here. Okay, so first rule of an engine. Engines always have to face to the left. It's just the way the game is. So you just have to get used to that. Everything moves from left to right. Once they dismantle an engine for us. There we go. Okay, so we can install the engines in different configurations. You can install it with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares outside and 2 squares inside. All the way up to, I think it's 6 inside. So 1 square outside and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares inside. The other thing that engines need is, you notice we have our 1 square here, but you'll see how it's gone red. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares of red. That is basically the space that the engine needs to operate, right? So as we work our way up here, and I might have built this slightly wrong. We'll see if it works. There we go. Yep, it'll work. I thought it went green there. There we go. So you'll notice that you need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like there's a sweet spot. There it is. So you can see that behind the engine, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares of space. Now, the farther I put the engine inside the ship, it only needs 5 from the end of the engine, right? So the more you want to have it outside, the more that would be. So if I put it up here, you're going to notice it can be essentially 2 to 3 squares out. And I can go down until I can't go 1 back, right? So more and more engine is inside the ship than outside the ship, but you always need that space. So what you'll normally see is oftentimes engines are installed, at the back, but these are all valid configurations. Let's grab a couple more engines. I think that might be all of them, but we might be able to get one more in. So why would you want to do one versus the other? Well, the amount of space that you need. Now, if you're putting them all the way at the back, it's not a big deal. But you still need those squares at the back of the engine. So the farther inside it is, the closer you could put something here, right? Let's see, engines, there we go. I think that's as far in as we're going to be able to go. Yep. Alright, so you can see the different engine configurations. To basically flush mounted with just the round part out, all the way out to the engine hanging out there. Now, if you're not in combat, that's not a big deal. The farther in your engine is inside the hull, the more protected it is. Right, so that'll make a difference there. The other thing is I don't know if it's how it's going to handle this. Let's just try to add hull. think it'll just tell me it is, the engines are invalid. Alright, so let's try to build this correctly. So it would be... So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's those 5. Can't remember. Did I say 5 or 6? We're about to find out. Yep, that looks valid. So the engines aren't flashing invalid. So you can see the difference in how much space you need. It's the same amount of space behind the engine. So let's try to do this. If I install, or if I add hull here. So you see how that engine went to invalid? It's basically saying I can't operate because I don't have enough exhaust gas space. So we'll take out that, and now the engine's valid again. Alright, so you always need those spaces. You know, however many spaces it is. I think it's 5. Let's go back to this grid. So if you count the rounded part, right, as part of the engine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you count this as the end of the engine, then it would be 6. But you need that space. Now, what's interesting is you can double things up into that space. So let's go ahead and add some floor here. We'll turn this into usable space. And then our atmosphere, right, has to flow into that. There we go. So the other thing that you'll run into for propulsion is a thruster. Don't put them outside in space. There we go. Again, that's a creative mode thing. Okay, so engines need power, and they need fuel, and they use fuel even when they're idle. Not a ton, but they do use it. So this is another area where, you know, now that we're setting up engines, oxygen, water, none of those pipes can cross, right? If they cross, you will have an issue. All right, those are all valid engines. Now I can install myself a thruster, and the thruster can go on any space where you can get to 3 tiles. But what's cool is I can't put it here because its output would hit. So let's come over here in our little test area. Won't go there, but it will go there, right? So it only needs 2 spaces. 1's not enough, but 2 is. So I can put it anywhere that has 2 spaces. You know, there's enough space there, there's enough space there. Can't put it on an inside. But you can have things overlap. So if we look here, I can put the thruster there, and they can share that airspace. So while I can't put anything solid there, I can actually put my thruster there. Thrusters only take power, they don't take fuel. I did something and broke my wall there at some point, so let's fix that. Just to keep our ship looking, I don't know if you call this a ship, but just to keep it somewhat real. Alright, so things that take space outside, you've got your engines, you've got your thrusters. There are some special things. So hyperspace scoops, hyperspace sensor. I think that's it outside of weaponry. We'll talk about weapons in a second. Gatling gun, railgun. Well, let's go ahead and grab some of these because we'll talk about that. Mining lasers. Oh, the drone bay. It needs some space, so we'll grab a couple of those. Docking ports. We already got the hyperspace scoop. And that's all materials, I think. Yep. Alright, crew, tear this stuff down. Alright, so let's talk about the first one, the docking bay. So the same thing, docking bay has to go on an exterior, or docking port, an exterior wall, but it can go in any direction, right? While you'll see most ships have them at the bottom, you can put it anywhere, but it's the same way. It needs a certain number of spaces. It needs 6 spaces to be installed. Also needs space outside, right? So, actually, we can put it along this flat surface. So there we go. You can see it needs, right there, it's invalid. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It needs 6 spaces of space out in front of it for ships to dock and things like that. So you can see there where we're getting the conflict because it doesn't have enough space. But in that 6, like that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does appear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can have scaffolding in front of it. You just can't have a solid thing. Let's test that and make sure that is true of engines as well. Can I run scaffolding down here? So there you go. So if you needed to run a pipe or a electrical cable through a section like that, it does not interfere with the engines. Next thing, some special things. We've got a hyperspace scoop. It must face to the right. So just like engines have to face to the left, I can't place this anywhere except facing to the right, because that's the direction your ship goes. It follows the same rules, right? I can place it here, but you're going to see that it's invalid at, valid, invalid, valid, invalid. But as soon as we drop down here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It needs 7 open space in front of it. But the same thing applies. I could put my hyperspace scoop. Oh, nope, not quite. I need 1 more space. All right, so just to prove that. So the engine fits in there. But let's go ahead and we're going to take out 1 more row here. Now that's going to break our hull. I believe this is valid. You'll see that we're not leaking oxygen, but it also does cause a problem in that I can't install there because there's no hull. 2 ways to fix that. You can put a hull in. I think you can just put a wall in, and it does the same thing. All right, so now we should be able to install our hyperspace scoop. Maybe not. Maybe it does need open air. I thought it would fit in there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it needs 8. I just think I didn't make it big enough. How big is this? Okay, how many squares does it stick out? It sticks out 2 squares and needs... So it needs 1, 2, 6 out 2. Then he's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it needs 8 total, but it has to stick out 2. So I think I'm 1 short. Yeah. All right, let's make one more little edit here, because I think this should work. There we go. So again, so they're sharing this space, right? That is valid. I'm going to turn that off. The other one, this is a little bit of a special case, is the hyperspace sensor. Works the same way, but it can go on any exterior wall. And its space limitation is... There we go. So it needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It needs 6. So 6 empty space. So that'll fit in there as well. Then we get to mining lasers. Again, you can see the footprint, right? So the mining laser goes into a hull spot and can fit. There we go. So it needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But same thing. You know, if I wanted to put it down there, they can share that space. This can also mount in different directions. So I can rotate this around and it can sit right there and share that space as well. Weaponry is the same way. Here's our railgun. I believe they're all 6 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got our Gatling gun. Same thing. That one needs 6. And we've got our cannon. Needs 6. And same thing applies down here. They will fit in that space. Now I can't put them in this little hull section. You need at least 1 space behind them. Let's check that. I think it's just 1. Let's try it. I don't think this will actually work. So cannon. Yeah, so see, it needs a space for a guy to stand to man it. Although you can't automate that. But a Gatling gun doesn't, but you still have to be able to load it. Yeah, so the Gatling gun will let it install in that 1 space. You need a second space for your crew on the railguns and on the cannons. Mining laser should still fit in there as well. Now you might run into a problem if you start stacking things this way, if your crew can't get to it to repair it or something like that. Hyperspace scoop, will it fit in there? It will. And the hyperspace sensor definitely should. Thrusters should. Yep, there you go. So, you know, those are all kind of your external things that would mount up. Okay, so let's check our trade. So we've got propulsion taken care of. Let's talk about the FTL drive. The FTL drive, while not directly propulsion, it is what allows you to go faster than light. So each jump takes a single FTL charge. There's nothing really all that special about the FTL drive. You have to have one. If you have a fleet of ships and they're all in the same sector, you can jump the whole fleet of ships off of one ship's FTL drive, at least currently. So this one works pretty straightforward. It just takes power, right? So you install it somewhere. We'll put ours right up here by the batteries. And then we would probably want to, much like we do for everything else, you know, we want to put a section in to store our FTL charges. And then we wire this up. So 2 things are going to happen here. Once it has power, they'll load an FTL charge into the drive. That will charge up. And once that's charged up, you can pick a destination and jump to it. And that's basically it on that one. That one's pretty simple. Okay, so to complete the tutorial, we would have to move our ship, which this ship will actually fly. It's got engines. It does everything it's supposed to do. And where are we here? We need to jump there. It also has a shipyard, so we'll prepare our jump. And so what that's going to do is the ship aligned itself. And then when we do the jump itself, okay, actually, this is kind of cool. So we completed that contract. Check out our solar panels here. We are in a gas cloud system. And because of the blockage of light, our solar panels are only half as effective. So they go from 10 megawatts down to 5 megawatts. So this is a disadvantage of this system if you are in a system like this. Okay. Let's see what's next. So propulsion. We've got propulsion. We've got habitation. We need to be able to load our guns. You know, you need ammo and things like that, but your crew will do that for you. Industry is a whole thing into itself. Logistics, I think we've covered. Oh, we haven't done drone bays. So drone bays allow you to collect external things. They are also, I don't like this system, so we're going to jump back over there. So again, you can see the ship rotating. It will rotate on your engines. It'll rotate a lot faster if you have thrusters. So that's what thrusters are good for maneuverability. All right, let's jump back over there. It's just hard to work in the cloud. All right, so our ship is back. We'll talk about drone bays here. So drone bays follow a lot of the same rules that we've already kind of talked about. You know, they've got a minimum number of squares that they need to be able to operate. Pretty tight. Let's put one over here. All right, so we're valid there, not valid there. So they need they need four spaces in order to be installed. They can be installed on any external surface, right? Same thing kind of applies. You need a space behind these. I guess that would work. You still have to be able to load and unload it, so I don't know how well that would work, but you could install it. I don't think you could use it there, though. So drone bays have a couple of different features. Oh, let's put one over here. Actually, let's run that way. All right, crew, where are you at? There we go. Now, we don't have any drones currently, so let's get some drones. So notice they loaded a drone up there. Same thing applies here. If you want to have your storage close, you know, you could put drone storage there, and they'll come grab the stuff out of general. That was pretty cool. And put it in there. Drones can do a number of things. Drones can repair your hull if you're in combat. They can collect minerals when you're mining. And then they can gather materials. Well, yeah, so mining turns off mining, but they gather materials that the mining does. And then if you find a wrecked ship, you can get salvage out of that ship. So they launch externally. They go grab the thing. They bring it back. And then somebody has to offload that particular piece of stuff. All right. That actually puts us, let's see. Science, we can talk about science. Will science work in creative mode? Yeah, it will. Science tends to get down the road a little bit. So really, the things that we haven't really done are the industry and logistics pieces. So industry is based around if you're mining ore, you can smelt that ore. If you want to collect gas, you can refine the gas. You can make fuel. You can make ammunition. You can make Stargate parts, right? You've got robot arms and things like that. I've got some pretty robust robotic things. We'll talk about these in a second. And logistics, a lot of similar stuff in there. So let's talk about science. Science has a couple of things. So we can get a science station. Where are we going to put you? Yeah, we'll put you over here. This looks nice. And we can get a, is it supercomputer? What's it called? Supercomputer. There we go. And then we need a scientist. A scientist is a special crew member. He can't do anything but science. But if we plug him in, and right now this is in its infancy. They definitely are going to keep working on this. But we've got these basically data tracks of things that we can do, right? So if we want to be able to make our own tanks, we can research these things, and now we can craft those. If we want to be able to make arms and track, that's a thing there. If we want our smelters to run better, we can run there. And then this is needed for the Stargate project. So basically what you need is you need a scientist and a science station for the research points, and you need a computer for anything that takes computing points, so 1 CP. If you have a whole bunch of them, I think they research faster. But even if it says you need 2 points, it just means he has to research twice as long, right? So if I choose one of these things, so let's just choose, actually let's choose metallurgy here. I start the research. You can see that it's using my scientists and the science station, and we'll just speed up time here. So now he's 1% done. Now if I come over here and say, no, I'd rather do this one, I can start that research, and same thing. He's doing the research, and the supercomputer now, notice it's highlighted, is doing its work. But you'll notice on this one that I had already started, if I go, it starts over. So if you switch these before it's done, you lose all your progress. So kind of keep that in mind. And that's mostly it, right? Like these things are just generating points. Now it is a crew member who can't do anything but that. So he's using up your resources and all those kind of things. But it is definitely something that you need for the start. Well, you don't need. I think you could do the whole Stargate project without it. You would just have to, you'd have to just buy everything. So that's basically all he does. Let's see. Let's change our scroll. Let's turn the link on. There we go. All right. Back into here. So that's science. We're going to play around with some track and robot arms because that's fun. But again, industry is mostly just the crafting thing. So you collect ore, you can turn it into ingots. You collect ice, you can turn it into water. You collect gas, you can turn it into refined gas. You take refined gas, or gas in a refinery turns it into refined gas. Chemical lab, you can take like thallium crystals and hyperspace isotopes, turn those into FTL charges. You can take refined gas, you can turn that into fuel. Let's see, fabricators make stuff for the Stargate project, as do assembly tables. Munition benches make ammo. And then you got robotic arms and track, which we're going to play around with here. Alright, so I'm going to spawn a bunch of these. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and then let's get some track. Now, if you start doing stuff with these, you start to use up space real quick. So we're going to add some equipment storage. And we'll just put it in here, because we're going to fill this up. Alright, so as I tear this down, okay, so robotic arms and track are basically used to automate things. You can put stuff in and out of objects, you know, like the industry stuff that we've talked about. You can move stuff around and do different things. So, let's see, where do we want to put this stuff? Let's add a new section down here for industry stuff. Alright, so we'll add hull. We'll add floors. Put 2 doors in, just to make it look nice. Can't afford. Oh, did I knock myself out of creative mode? What do you mean I can't afford? Okay, well, here's a little hack that we're going to do. Let's see. What's something that's expensive? Oh, no. Okay, so here's what's happened. Do I have an autosave? We're about to find out. Okay, so how far back did we autosave? Okay, well, here's what's happened. Because we finished the mission, I think it knocked us out of creative mode. So I can't spawn things anymore. I can put a dock in, but that's it. So I knocked myself out of creative mode. When did that happen? I spawned in all of those robot arms. Let's see, missions, contracts. Yeah, so I don't know what triggered that. But yeah, so we've knocked ourselves out of creative mode by doing the jump, I think, is what's happened. Shouldn't be research. Are we even researching right now? I don't know if I even got research going again. Oh, actually, no, we went back anyway. So yeah, I've never had that happen before. All right. Well, I think. Do we have that track? No, I don't even have the track and stuff. Okay. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We'll save this. Let's see. Game day 2024. 2924. And then we'll just start a new one and we'll play with track. Alright, so we'll create much simpler setup here. This is a good note to self, though. Don't get out of that mode. Okay, so we're just going to build this version. Let's see. We will need some crew, because you need crew to load load stuff up and things like that. So. Okay, that'll get us started there. Then we will create ourselves an air duct. Air reprocessor. Oops, we have to move that. In this mode, you can actually essentially build invalid stuff if you put it in the wrong spot. All right, and we need a CO2 scrubber. Oxygen. Actually, I don't think we need that tank. Yeah, well, I think we're good. Alright, scrub CO2, store it. Air reprocessor, store it. Let's add some loaders. There we go. Let's get our water system in place. Let's put in a huge tank here. Let's see, we want water processor. I think it's called a processor. No, air reprocessor. Purifier. There we go. Huge tank. Waste treatment. And the sewage pipe. And then we'll add some loaders. All right. Let's spawn in some fuel. So we shouldn't have a fuel problem here. And we'll just make this ship, we'll concentrate on the arms and industry. Right, we need oxygen. Right, and some water. This is much neater than our last build. Alright, let's check our pipes. Those hook to that. Those hook to that. That'll all be fuel. Run power down this way. Power down this way. Power up, power up. Now none of this is going to work until we get crew. Because there's no, you can't manually load fuel into the system, right? So nothing will fire up until that happens. We will go ahead and put in a docking port, even though we're probably not going to need it and or use it. Stick that there. All right, let's go ahead and start spawning in our industry stuff so we can deal with that. So let's grab, I'm not going to put engines or anything in this one. Okay, we'll grab a smelter. Let's see, can I build this? Try to build this smart. Well, let's just we'll build them as we want to do things. That'll be a better thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get ourselves some crew. So we'll get spacesuits. 10. Let's build a habitation deck. Just put that into, where is my, oh, did I build this ship asymmetrical? I did. Oh well, that's alright. Let's take that away. Let's turn that off. We'll make the habitation deck this upper right corner. There we go. So our sewage pipe should be in. And then we need a ladder. Which you always want to put right next to your sewage pipe. Oh, did I miss it? I think I'm off by 1. Yep. Alright, we'll just put it there. Alright, let's get some crew on board. I think all of our main systems should be up and running here. Alright, so they're going to want food. We'll give ourselves plenty of food. $50 food should be enough. I think that's 5,000 food. Yep. Okay, so if we check our ship, did we not pipe something up right here? I just didn't go far enough. There we go. Alright, so we are gaining there. Give ourselves some battery capacity here. Alright. Everything should be coming up to speed. Alright, let's give them a place to stick their spacesuits. I didn't really put storage zone in for anything else. And I don't want them to move that stuff, so we're just going to put spacesuit storage in. We can put them right there. So once they have enough oxygen, they'll ditch their spacesuits, and then they should put them in storage. All right, so let's start talking about the basics of industry and automation. We'll go ahead and put one of each thing in as we work our way down. So let's first smelter. All right, so we'll put a smelter in. Gas collector, fine, we'll put that there. Refinery, we'll put that there. Chemical lab, we'll put that there. Hyperspace scoop will get you isotopes. We're just going to place isotopes. Munitions bench, fabricator, assembly table. Garden. I think that's everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and power these guys up. So we'll put these on the grid. Alright, so that's what everything looks like. The one thing that has a little bit of a different thing is our gas collector has an external thing, so you have to have that pointing out. You're going to know some of them have different things. So our smelter can take metal ore of any kind and turn those into ingot. So that'll turn it into metal ingot, precious ingot, thallium ingot, copper ingot. Our gas collector just collects gas. That's all it does. Munitions bench, we can make railgun slugs, cannon, bullets. Explosives might be in the chemical lab. Fabricator, frames, motors, energy, coils, and lenses. Assembly tables. Ladder, doors, batteries, solar panels, Stargate frame, actuator. It's missing the things in research. So you can also make the transmitter and receiver, the tanks, all these things we don't have researched, you can also make, I think, at the assembly table. The refinery can make refined metrion gas or refined isotopes, and the chemical lab can make fuel, explosives, STL charges, deuterium, and Stargate resin, right? So if we want to build something, we have to kind of basically build in the infrastructure to make it work. So let's start ourselves with fuel. Fuel might be one that you would want to make, unless you unplug your chemical lab. All right, so if we look at this and we say we want to make fuel. Fuel takes 10 refined metrion. Well, to refine metrion, we need a refinery. So refined metrion takes 20 metrion gas. Metrion gas comes from our collector. So we're not going to collect it. You'd have to fly your ship to a spot to collect it. But we will go ahead and build out a system as if we were collecting it, right? So we will go ahead and say, nope, not trade. So we want a gas collector. And you can't rotate this one. So then I'm normally going to put in a tank at this point. So we'll put in a nice big tank. Then we're going to put in a refinery. Now, the other thing that you're going to look at, so let's look at some things here. Now, gas collection is based on how thick the gas cloud is. But if we looked at refined Metreon gas, it's 20 Metreon gas to 10 refined gas every 4 seconds. My chemical lab, if I'm going to make fuel, needs 10 refined Metreon every 2 seconds. Right? So if my refinery can put out 10 Metreon gas in 4 seconds, this can use that same 10 in 2 seconds. So I essentially need 2 refineries to feed my chemical lab. So we're going to go ahead and build it that way. So we're going to get ourselves a refinery. And we're going to go ahead and put 2 in. So we'll put 1, 2. And then we're going to build a chemical lab. And we'll put it right there. All right, let's wire this up. And let's pipe it up. Now, before we pipe this up, we'll wait for these to power up. Once you select these, it will change the ports to what they need to be. Right? So if I change that to high isotopes, it'll change them. And you can change them and do different things. It's just if you're going to build systems like this, that can be a little more difficult. So this system is going to be just to make fuel. Right? So we're going to take pipes, and we're going to run a Metreon pipe here. Then we're going to split that here and here. Let's go ahead and power that up. It doesn't matter because we're not going to actually collect anything. Then I'm going to run my refine. Actually, we're going to make one change here. Something that I should do is, let's go ahead and put in another tank. Same thing with the air systems, right? It's good to have the ability to collect whatever you're making. And then we're going to put one more tank in there. The nice part about this one, as far as automation goes, is almost everything we're doing here is liquid. So we can just pipe it together. All right, so then we want our chemical lab back. All right, let's cable that up. All right, so we're going to pull refined Metreon out, put it in that tank. We're going to take our chemical lab, say make fuel. So our refined Metreon needs to come in there. And then our fuel will come out there. And then this will make us fuel. Now we're going to have to fake something here a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and install some loaders. The loaders will take the place of our gas collector because we're not in a gas cloud. So we'll pretend we are. And we'll just put those loaders in. And then I should be able to just spawn Metreon gas. Can I not get... Oh, I can't place Metreon gas? Okay, well... Let's see, can I buy it? Let's see if we can buy it. Nope, I can't buy it either. Okay, well, trust me, this works. Unfortunately, the game is not allowing me to spawn in what I need. There is resources at the bottom, it's just not the ones we need. Yeah, so I can't get isotopes either. That's alright. Geo energy cells. It's an odd little oversight. Again, the game is in alpha, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but can I trade for isotopes? Nope. Okay, I'm not sure why they won't let you do that in creative mode, but so be it. But anyway, this system essentially will make fuel for you. Once you get this up and running and you visit a gas cloud, you can essentially make all the fuel that you need. All right, let's look at next one that you might want to actually build a lot of, and that is you might want to make, where's our chemical lab? There we go. FTL charges, right? So they take 100 hyperspace isotopes and thallium crystals. So that system would look similar in that we're going to we're going to just place a chemical lab. And let's put that, actually we'll put it over here so they're kind of even with each other. We're going to do the same thing. You know, I would probably put a tank in place here. And then we need to refine. So let's take a look at our rates again. So in a chemical lab, to make an FTL charge, it takes 30 seconds. It takes 100 hyperspace isotopes. You don't need to refine. You can refine them, but it doesn't need refined, right? So if you look here, it just says it needs the isotopes. So you collect these from your scoop, and you could put them in place there. Then the other thing that we need, let's just change this over to FTL charges, is we need the ability to get our ore refined into crystals. So I'm going to take that tank out because we can't make it work anyway. So we need to have isotopes coming in, and we need to have the thallium crystals. So crystals will be made in a smelter. So let's build ourselves a smelter. And we're going to use our first robotic arms here. So I'm going to say we'll just do a short arm. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of track and a short arm. So we'll put that in place. And we'll build ourselves a simple little system here. There we go. And then let's get ourselves another short arm. And then we're also going to look at I'm going to make a mess if I do this. Actually, they loaded most of that up. Okay, I can make that work. Let's put track in. And then we will put in just another short arm. Okay, let's fix some storage things so I don't make a huge mess out of what I'm about to do. So we want food storage. Where are foods at? We want water storage. There. We'll build out an oxygen storage area here. And a fuel storage area here. That way if I spawn any of that stuff, we'll have it. Okay. So at some place we would have a tank. I'll just put a small tank in for now. It's going to get a little crowded. But we'd have a tank going into our isotopes, right? So what we're going to do here is let's build the storage first. I'm going to add ourselves in some general storage. So any cargo. Or put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 should be enough. And then we're going to add 1 Tilium ore storage. I'm going to put it right there. Now I'm going to spawn in Tilium ore, but let's get our manufacturing line set up here first. So we're going to have this smelt Tilium ore, and that should be the only thing we have to set up for this production line. Alright, so let's spawn in some ore, which we can do. Oh, the little tiny bits. Oh, no. Okay. Well, I can't see how many it put in. Okay. So if you watch, they're going to put it in general storage. Well, he stuck it in the smelter, but they're going to put it there. The robot arm's going to grab it and move it over there. All right, so let's get a whole bunch of this ore spawned in. And it basically is just building me a queue. Now the smelter is smelting that ore. Alright, so we got plenty of extra ore. So the smelter's up and running. Temperature's full. And so it's making crystals, right? So there's 9 crystals. Once that's done, it plops those onto the track, loads it into this, and now this is making FTL charges. Now unfortunately, well, that's a robot arm. Hold on, let's make a little change. I used the wrong arm. It's not a big deal. It still works. It just means our track is less effective. We want the short arm. We'll talk about why in a second. All right, and am I short one track? I think I am. There we go. Is that a short arm? Short arm. It's short arm. So the short arm takes from the nearest square and puts it on the nearest square. The normal arm takes from 2 squares away and puts it 2 squares away. All right, let's get this back up and running. So you can see now they load that spot up with the ore, and then the smelter smelts it, and the arms do the work. Now, crew will do that, right? Crew will actually put stuff in your smelters, take stuff out. But this way, if the crew's busy, it keeps manufacturing things, right? So we're just building ourselves a queue of things. So as this uses this up, it's going to grab the one that's here. And then when the crew has time, they can go and they'll put another one there, because this is Tilium ore storage, and this here is just general storage. So it's going to prioritize that. And then if we had stuff going into this, then it would be making FTL charges. And then what I would probably do after that is I would say, okay, let's go ahead and put ourselves in another short arm. There. And then I can put in track. And then I'm going to put in another short arm. There. And then we can just put in an FTL drive. All right, so now this system would actually build, that's probably overkill on that, but it could build our FTL charges, get them in line. And so what would happen is a similar thing. So I'm going to go into our storage, and I'm going to fake this a little bit. We're going to find FTL charges. We'll put that there. And then again, we're going to go a little bit of any cargo storage just down here. And then we'll spawn ourselves in some FTL charges. And you'll see how it would work, hopefully. Here we go. All right. So see, he's going to put on that track as if the robot arm put it on the track. And then it would run down that way, then that arm would grab it, and now it loaded it into the FTL drive. And so as this is making the FTL charges, it'll just keep them in a queue. Now, the one thing that I haven't quite figured out, I need to do a little more research on, is once these get full, if there's storage space. So here, let's do this. If I put storage space in for Tilium crystals, I'll just put in 4. This will keep manufacturing even when there's I don't need it, right? So I'm trying to figure out a way to clean that up a little bit, but now I've got basically a queue, and every time I make a jump, the robot arm will automatically load the FTL drive, and my crew never has to do it. All right, let's see. Is there any other manufacturing things that might be useful? Let's see. Chemical lab. You know, most of these just work the same way. They're just different materials, right? Munitions bench, you can make things. You know, fabricators the same way. To make a frame, you need iron ingots. So instead of this system, you would put a smelter, smelt metallic, make iron ingots, put ingots into the assembly table, and make the frame. Or this one takes metal ingots and copper ingots, so you can put 2 tracks of input, right? Same thing here. This one takes precious metals, so same thing there. And then you can chain these up. So like this one, to make the Stargate frame, needs frames. You know, I can have the smelter feeds the fabricator feeds the assembly table. So that's how most of the manufacturing stuff works inside the game. All right. Let's check our thing here. So we talked about energy, propulsion, habitation. We talked a little about defense. The only thing we didn't talk about is the weapons control center. If you have a weapons officer, they can run one of these, and it can run 4 cannons or railguns. Gatling guns are independent. They'll fire by themselves. So you have to have 1 crew per weapon, or 1 weapons officer to run a control center that can run 4. Other than that, that's about it for that. Industry, again, we hit on almost all the things here. It's about resource collection, refine the resource down, smelt it, refine it, things like that, and then build things out of it. You saw the robot arms in action and different things. Then there's all of our raw materials. Logistics is a lot of similar stuff. Science, we talked about science. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the resources we need to truly see them in action. And then these are for the Stargate project. And that's basically it. That's all you need to get a ship up and running. And how the assembly process works. And it's all about just chaining things together. The only thing we didn't talk about is the smart robot arms. So let's build ourselves a little system here. So I'm going to build myself a track system here. So we're just going to build ourselves a little loop. There we go. All right, so if I put stuff on the arm or on the track, once it's on the track, it tends to not want to get off. Your crew can't pull it off, right? So I'm going to have, well, so like these FTL charges. If I now put in some storage and I say, oh, what I want you to do is store FTL charges here, you're going to notice that they won't pull them off this track. You can put it on the square. So notice I put that there. They can put it on the square and then the track will take it, but they can't pull stuff off. So you might have an occasion where you're going to want to pull something off. So let's go ahead and, what do we want to put on our track? What aren't we using right now? Oh, purple will look pretty. So oops, that's storage. Let's spawn some purple. Okay. So I've got those 5 things sitting there. So let's say I go ahead and build my storage. And I say put the deuterium there. So the crew's going to grab it, and it's now on my track. Right? And then I also want to put some... let's put some water on my track. So we'll put water there. And we'll knock some of it out of storage. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in some arms here, just so we can see them in action. So we're going to put in a short robot arm. And we'll make it go in that direction. We'll put in a robot arm. We're going to make it go in that direction. Alright, we'll fire these up. And now what's going to happen is notice the normal arm just goes a longer space. If there's something in that space, the arm won't offload, right? Now, right now, the crew's just grabbing that stuff and putting it right back in the same position. But the arm will grab anything. So that time it grabbed the purple. This time it will grab the water. So anything that comes along, the arm will grab. Now, if it's blocked, or like here, it's going to grab that water, and the thing made it pass before the arm could get back. It's not going to grab those things. Down here, we can go ahead and we'll put ourselves in a smart arm. The smart arm is much like the normal arm. It goes from 2 spaces away. We're going to cable this one up. But we're going to notice that when it fires up, it's not doing anything, right? So there's the arm. It's waiting for something to come across, and nothing happens. Because the smart arm allows you to select what you want to pull off. So this is a way where you can actually build decision-making process into your system, right? So let's go ahead and, let's say we wanted to have our reactor. So we want to grab the deuterium off of our manufacturing line and then run it down to the reactor. We could run the water up to here and different things like that. So let's go ahead and uncable these guys. And I'm going to get them all the stuff back on the track. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull that storage out of there. And then we're going to put water storage back here. We'll put some deuterium storage down here. And actually, that won't work the best. We'll just put it over here. That's fine. And so I could build a system like this where we'll put a smart arm in right there. I'll just take those 2 out. There we go. Alright, so we'll get this powered up. Okay, so now we have 2 smart arms. And we've got multiple things on our track. So a normal arm would just grab stuff, right? But what I might want is something like this. Let's go ahead and get some track. This isn't going to be the most efficient in the world, but it'll work. We'll do that. And we'll do the same thing down here. And now, since we know what's going to be on these tracks, I'm just going to grab a short arm. We'll unload that. Unload that. And so you can move stuff around inside your ship. There we go. We'll get these two powered up. In such a way that, you saw when we had these arms going, if there was something sitting at its destination, it wouldn't grab something else, right? But now what we can do is we can say, okay, I want this one to grab water. And I want this one to grab the deuterium. Oh, where is it? I just saw it. There it is. And then it's going to place it on the other track. That track can grab it, and you don't want to place it into a storage. Otherwise, it'll just sit there. The crew won't move it. But in this case, because it's sitting on a normal square, they'll grab it, and then they'll take it. Or, again, you could feed this directly into something else. I could feed that directly into a loader if I wanted to, right? And so here is these unload. And the nice part is this can sit here until the crew is ready. So, these can queue up just like they queued up here. And so you can start to build some of your automation in place so that you don't have to always wait for your crew. Your crew's eventually needed. You can't automate everything. You can't load or put stuff into the docking port right now. So, okay. I think, let's go back through. I think we covered it all. I think that is basically the basic functionalities, the basic systems that make the game work. The rest of this is just about what you prioritize. You have to get certain things up and running first, oxygen and power. You need engines, you need thrusters and things like that. And then how much of this do you want to make yourself, or do you want to run missions and actually buy the stuff? You can buy FTL charges. You don't have to make them, right? You can buy water. You can buy fuel. You can buy anything you want, but you can make this stuff as well. So, okay, let's see what's next on the agenda. We have played the Last Starship. We've played the Old Republic. We have played Model Builder. I have on my list other things. We could play Game Dev Tycoon, PC Building Simulator, Power Wash Simulator. YouTuber's Life could be interesting. That would be very Inception driven. We will probably bounce back to the Old Republic at some time today, just to see if we've got any other dailies or anything that we want to run there as well. But I think we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of break for lunch. So I think we're going to go ahead and fire back up right around 1 o'clock. So again, we made up at half an hour on this run. So we're running about a half an hour late on our transitions, but that's okay. If you have anything that you would like to see, go ahead and throw it at me either in the chat when we come back up, or in the comments or social media, or donate and put it in the comment there, and I will be happy to try to operate those kind of things as well. So with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and call this is what, the third. Let's see, we were 12 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 12. Yeah, so we're 3 down, 3 to go. So I'm not 100% sure what we'll do next. We shall see. But with that being said, thank you everybody for the donations. So far we are up to 1278. Thank you to everybody who has donated. Here is our last 5. There we go. Carla, Jill, William, Tony, and Val. Thank you so much for being the most recent donors. Very much appreciated. We are at 1278 of 3,500. So we're still cranking, driving towards that 3,500 goal. We shall see. But if you'd like to donate, there is a donate link there. And if you want to see it in all of its glory, there we go. Let's make it big. There you go. So that'll take you directly to the donate page. So we'll leave that up for just a moment. So if anybody wants to scan that, they can. Again, all your donations are appreciated. You can find a link to the donations in the description down below. You can find it in the chat down below. I completely understand if people are unable to donate. Money is tight right now, so I get it. One of the things you can do, though, is that link is active all the time. So it's active 24/7 for the rest of the year. And so if you share that link to other people, they don't even have to be watching the stream, right? They can click the link and donate at any time. So, donate or share is something that a lot of people will say. Both are valid. Get the assist for you being a part of the process. Much like our automation here, right? If you're part of the chain, whether you're the smelter or whether you're the chemical lab, doesn't matter. Everything's needed that gets us to that goal. And the goal is to help, sick kids and their families. So very much appreciate everybody for the donations so far. And let's see if we can keep pushing that number up. Be nice to hit 2,000. Let's go for 2,000 by the end of the day. I don't think we're going to get to 3,500. That would be ambitious. But if we can get to 2,000, that would be a really, really, really good push. Where are we at on getting to our other goals? So our next milestone is 1,500. So we're 222 away from that. And then the goal after that is 1,768. So we are 490, if I'm doing the math correctly. And that'll get us to 9,000 in lifetime donations. So that would be a great goal as well. Okay, everyone. We're going to go ahead and break, get some lunch. If you have any suggestions, shoot them my way. Other than that, we will see you in about a half an hour. We'll fire back up at 1 o'clock in order to continue the streaming goodness. So like we always say, go watch, play, or create something great, and we will see you in a bit.